of their achievements in Colorado sports. So we're very much looking forward to presenting them with what is essentially a super fancy edition of the Denver Sports Podcast. That's really what we're doing. So
You're so funny, too. Oh my God.
that's just, I love working a live crowd. It's really what I got into this business to do. And so, wow, they're just the entire world is watching. And so we should probably start handing out awards before they start playing the music to get me out of here. So I've got to welcome our first presenter. If you have social media, you've probably seen this guy get fired at least 5 times. Presenting the award for Newcomer of the Year, our social media guru on the Denver Nuggets beat, and for some reason a Cardinals fan, at Brendan Vogt, everybody.
My parents did include the "at" when on the birth certificate. Our first award of the evening is Newcomer of the Year. There's a lot of it. There's 4 candidates, as you might expect, because of the 4 teams. Just bear with me as I.
Oh, there they are.
There they are. Cale Makar of the Colorado Avalanche. Drew Lock of the Denver Broncos. Jairo Diaz of the Colorado Rockies. And Michael Porter Jr. of the Denver Nuggets. And the first ever Goatie goes to...
Who's it going to be?
Jairo Diaz. There's been a mistake. No, it's Cale Makar of the Colorado Avalanche. Give it up. I just got the text, Cale couldn't make it tonight, so I will accept this award on behalf of Cale. It's at least the 7th biggest honor of my life. Thank you very much. I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Where does Cale Makar rank just as newcomer? It was a good year for newcomers. Michael Porter Jr. didn't quite make like the big impact in 2019, so I think it's like clear he doesn't qualify.
Because his first game was like December 29th, right?
Yeah,
This is December 28th.
But if you think about it, you add Drew Lock, Cale Makar, Michael Porter Jr. all in 1 year. They all have a chance of being like staples of their respective teams for quite a while. I feel like it's a good year for newcomers.
It's a good year for Denver.
I mean, Makar already has the defenseman goal-scoring record for the Avs. There's 30 games left in the season. Like, come on!
It's tough timing for both Drew Lock and MPJ. I feel like if those guys debut a little earlier, or if we'd be doing this award next year if they debuted a little later,
or if Cale Makar wasn't a bona fide superstar,
or if Cale Makar didn't exist.
What about Diaz though? That was your vote.
So defend the take.
Defend your take.
For Rockies newcomers.
Look, tough year, but it's also a really tough job to be a Colorado Rockies relief pitcher as a guy making your way, and to finish out the year as a closer. I thought he was worthy of being mentioned among these candidates. I don't think he deserves to win.
Yeah. Come on. Is Michael Porter Jr. eligible for the 2020 Newcomer of the Year?
No, but Bo should be.
Bo. Yeah. Bo's going to be the same as MPJ, where he's not going to actually play till January 1st.
Why wouldn't he? I guess because we voted him this year, but I mean, he is going to be playing. He's like his rookie season is 2019-2020.
So is Cale Makar.
So I guess what he does.
We're gonna let Cale Makar win it twice. I'm cool.
That's a great first ever 2-time rookie of the year.
I mean, it will be Michael.
That's the music.
Yeah.
All right.
Move on.
All right.
Do we need a new envelope?
Yeah. What's our next envelope?
It's my bad, guys.
I had an order, but we're winging it. Quote of the year. That means we've got to turn to our next presenter, who we had to card 5 times to make sure he could get in the room. Though somehow he ended up being slightly better dressed than me, so whatever. Everybody welcome Hank, or is that not your name? I'm sorry, Henry Chisholm. DNVR Buffs.
Who is Henry?
What is that?
I think you just ripped your pants.
Yeah, probably. They're just like a tiny bit too tight, but they were $17.
Henry's going to a CU fraternity formal after this.
CU fraternity formal.
If I can find a date, I will. So I'm here to introduce the nominees for the quote,
Quote.
Quote.
Oh, wow.
Yep. I was cheating on your guys's.
You're as prepared as we thought you would be.
That's fair.
That's
fair. Okay, so your nominees for Quote of the Year are, and there are 3 of them. First, looked like Jackie Moon from Michael Malone. Second, to all my boys, I love you guys from Nolan Arenado. And third, we are living in a world of suck from Emmanuel Sanders.
That laugh.
And the winner is.
And the winner is, for quote of the year, Emmanuel Sanders. That was before. You got to give me the drum roll a little bit early.
Is that a good thing?
That was
that
appropriate
quote
to
is
submit
the
for that to
quote
go.
of the year?
That's my take here. Is like, it sucks that the best quote of the year was just about how much the Broncos were bad.
Yeah.
That is part of the world of suck. Is that the best quote was about how much they sucked.
But you heard Adam's great laugh of when that was announced.
It was that was like the perfect quote to describe the moment in time for the Denver Nuggets or Denver Broncos. It was a world of suck.
Freudian.
Plus,
They were living in it.
I mean, for any sport, any fan who's felt that way, like every fan at some point has felt like I am in a world of suck right now. Like,
let's make world of suck a thing. It's just like when your team isn't good, you live in a world of suck.
that's where you're at, man.
Could also be the name of a vacuum
Yeah,
store.
can we get a sponsorship or something?
How did that quote come about, though? Because wasn't it like Vic Fangio said that, and then Emmanuel Sanders said,
Yeah,
Vic said
I think
it
that
was a world of suck?
I think Emmanuel
It's a
is
secondhand
getting.
quote?
Yeah, I think Emmanuel's getting credit for something that he doesn't exactly deserve here.
Yeah.
Controversy.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah,
I tell him
controversy
that.
music.
You
Come
guys
on,
could've
Eric.
There's got to be controversy.
You guys could have brought that up.
No. It's great. It's like that time Sam Smith won a Grammy for that song he stole from
Tom Petty, yes.
Did they take the Grammy away?
Do you think Emmanuel?
No, you can't take a Grammy or a Goatee away from anybody.
You
ever.
can take Oscars away.
Yeah.
You can give them to the wrong person.
I want to believe that Emmanuel Sanders never said anything remotely like this, and he just won an award. It was like, yeah, we're living in a tough world. And
We should also say that by just a few months, another potential runaway winner here, take that L on the way out, just missed qualifying for
That
this.
would have won.
Yeah.
One of like 5 Michael Malone quotes that would have qualified.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's going on with Michael Malone? Where are
What's
the
all
legendary
the
quotes?
Jackie Moon quote was actually perfect.
Yeah.
It was actually a perfect quote.
Can you take us through the moment?
Yeah, I need.
So
description.
Jokic posts up. He passes out. He doesn't like what he saw. Passes back in. Pass back out. Doesn't like what he saw. Pass back in.
Right
pass
back,
out,
right
pass
back,
out.
right back.
And
No, back
Malone,
to you, back to you.
Malone does a thing where he talks out of the side of his mouth when he's really feeling it.
Oh, you know he's got something good.
Hey, you know what? We looked a lot like Jackie Moon out there. You know.
The New York in it really
New York
comes
guy
out.
comes out.
From New
Yeah, we
York.
look like Jackie Moon out there, huh?
Wait,
That's not what Michael Malone said.
Well, it wasn't a great Michael Malone.
Yeah, those are really bad.
I do feel like before I get out of here, I have to shout out that Emmanuel Sanders, after this quote, was able to go on to play for the 49ers and play in the Super Bowl.
Okay, all right.
So,
No one received the award.
I want
he
to
not
thank
here?
Emmanuel Sanders' family. I want to thank his kids.
He's at the Super Bowl. He can't do it.
No, he's
right,
doing
right.
fine.
He's a little
For
busy.
long enough, I can't keep
He
doing
had
I know,
committed
right?
to be
No.
here,
it.
of course.
I'm going
Now
on.
he's
it.
been
For the
Came
Super
up,
Bowl, he
yeah.
would be here.
All right, what's I should know, but I don't because I've got a producer. Best dressed. All right, so I want to be careful about making jokes because this next presenter is my boss, but he wears bolo ties and watches The Bachelor, so jokes kind of make themselves. Just have at it out there. just go ahead and do it. Apparently, presenting the award for Best Dressed is our guy, the senior VP of all operations here at DNVR, and I guess the best dressed guy in the room. Ryan Koenigsberg, everybody.
Take that,
It's a dress off. Oh my goodness, here they go.
My H&M shirt would like a word, but that's it.
Can cut the music. Fashion. Fashion is in the eye
Play that
of
music.
the beholder.
Let's do this. Let's go.
You've got people like Ian Desmond, who is a nominee here, who wants to be a sharp-dressed man. But then you've got Vic Fangio, who is at peace with what he wears on a day-to-day basis. Fashion can be anything, even Hank's pants. But to this winner,
To the people who can't see, his pants are so
I have to
tight.
walk around sometimes so the circulation comes back.
this winner sees fashion on a level that most of us, other than me, can't really understand. And the winner of Best Dressed at the first annual Goaties, Jared Bednar.
Hey!
Definitely deserved.
I Yeah, I think this is a really, really good one.
We should mention the other nominee who was
watched
going
it.
head-to-head with Bednar.
Who was it?
Will Barton.
Oh, yeah.
Can
Yeah,
we
he
just-
knows fashion.
Can we all admit that half the office just voted with what Allie said on this one?
Jared Bender's definitely the best dressed. His suit game is on point.
It's classy dressing versus swaggy
Will
dressing.
yeah,
you
no,
know?
that's
I
very
think
true. That's very true.
Depends on how you define best.
Yeah,
Barton's-
I think it's Barton.
I
think
feel
it
like
has to be. The
I'm Barton.
definition
I'm
of
Team Barton
best
here.
is going to come under siege throughout the night.
You know what's funny? A lot of Nuggets fans would tell you that it's actually Gary Harris.
Sneaky
Really?
good dresser.
Yeah.
It's been also like great ripped.
Oh, okay.
No.
Oh, Harrison's on a
Just
green
good
wall.
looking, you know?
Two things Will Barton did that lost me. One, he once wore a construction vest.
Okay, that was dope.
You don't understand art.
Next thing.
Two, he once
He
wore
was
a,
going to work.
he once,
Great point.
Always.
Are you swayed at all?
Always.
Are you swayed at all by the fact that he was going to work?
Oh, that actually makes sense. Two, he wore a Nebraska Cornhusker sweater once.
Oh, I didn't know.
Alright, that's fair.
In this
You're right.
office,
It's definitely no,
that's
it's
an
over.
out. That's
I actually
an out.
asked him about that. He said it went with his shoes. So
Okay.
I'm gonna-
That's the only reason.
Get different shoes.
We saw Jared Bednar at a Starbucks, so it's not just his suit game. He was very, very clean. A green bomber, very in style.
Oh, wow,
yeah.
really?
He looked great. He looked fantastic.
I do want to
Hockey
say
guy.
from the Buffs beat that Katie Nixon deserves a serious shout out. He's got like the dashes and the eyebrows. He's got like the glasses, all that stuff.
That's not dress.
Eyebrows is
That's
Wait,
not
wait,
part of
wait.
clothing.
And then before the Utah game, he's down on the field, pre-game, warming up, in a polo buttoned all the way up to his neck, because it's all business.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
I feel like he deserves.
Really bad taste.
I don't know. I feel like he deserves something for that.
Real quick, I spoke with a representative for Jared Bednar. He wasn't able to make it tonight,
Dang it.
unfortunately, but I will accept the award on his behalf.
All right.
No, all right.
I would kill to see him in a construction vest.
Jared.
Just to add that in there.
Oh, God.
Good job. Great job.
Or to see him walk into this office and accept one of these awards
Oh,
wearing
wait.
one of
Hey,
these.
Are you ready?
I do want to say the Periscope is saying Will Barton for best dress. Yes, Brendan, thank you for repping Gary for us. So, wow, Gary's misrepresented here. I would have never known.
A lot of people don't know this. I'm pretty tuned into the
There
people.
are people
A lot
watching
of time on the
this.
timeline.
Would you call yourself the people's champ?
Yeah, well,
What is
take
it? Oh. Social,
Thanks
who's
for
doing this
commenting.
one?
People's challenger.
I see. Now I don't know who's doing this one anymore because we've changed
What is
around a
next?
couple
What is
of
up
times.
next?
I'm in.
Okay.
We got social media. Who wants to
I'm
present
doing
this
social
award?
media.
There you go.
All right, the king of segues into and out of podcast reads. He is the best Denver Nuggets reporter in the world, or at least in the room. Everybody, please welcome Harrison Wynn.
All right.
Thank you.
Big statue guy.
Big statue guy.
Big windmill guy.
Wind turbines.
Are those different?
That just sounds fancy.
Okay.
I really don't know.
It's the monocle.
All right, so I'm presenting the Goatee for best social media, and in our world, there's an expression: never tweet. Sometimes.
Sure.
For the nominees, though, that rule does not apply.
They tweet.
The nominees for best social media are Von Miller, the Colorado Rockies Twitter account, Philip Lindsay, and the Colorado Avalanche Twitter account.
I don't know how Vaughn and Phil got into this.
There's not a lot of great tweeters. Athletes.
The Goatee goes to Rockies social media account.
It's well deserved. It's well
That's
deserved.
well
Yeah,
deserved.
well deserved.
Purple Rain, nice.
I
Easy
have a,
choice.
Yeah.
not to get too off of this already.
Let's immediately change the subject.
I have an early nominee for 2020 Social of the Year.
Should we wait for 2020?
No.
No, we can do
No,
that. Not after that build-up.
Curtis Blades. Blades.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
He's,
a good one.
You know, he
Oh,
might
wow.
be making an early entry. We'll see.
It might be like
Rockies could not be here tonight, but
No.
I'll just say we can only hope their team is as good as their social media account next year.
Oh.
You heard it here first. Nicely done.
Well, if you're not winning baseball games, you might as well entertain the people.
That's
And you know when they were winning
cucaracha.
baseball games. It's a good account. I like it.
Motto.
Oh,
The people that run that account
really?
do a
It's
super
not a
awesome
frisbee.
job.
These aren't being
It
thrown.
can be
right
whatever
now.
it wants to be.
Okay, you ready?
No, not even a little bit.
What's
No.
next, Eric?
And again, who is present? Oh, we got this guy over here. Oh, we switched it around. No one knows who's presenting this one. Okay.
Oh.
Well, I already gave
Oh,
him an
yes, vote.
intro, so you remember Brendan vote. Cardinals fan. Cardinals fan. Brendan.
Also a Giants.
Just think Nolan Arenado will look good with the birds on the back.
Yeah. You should
Cut the mic.
leave.
Which one am I presenting?
I can't do that.
Call of the
Who am I presenting again?
He's
Okay.
done. We cut it.
Call of the year. Look, I could sit here and I can go through the nominees, or I could just tell you what you already know. The winner for Call of the Year is Chris Marlowe's splendid Serbian hooker shot. I don't know if shot may have been too long of a pause to make it into the quotations mark, Chris. I asked Chris if he wanted to come tonight. He said, not a chance in hell. But he did want to say thank you so much. So, yeah.
I think that was.
We're having a discussion.
I get nervous.
I'm pretty sure everyone voted for that.
Well, that's because it's
100%. It was the first
I think it was
100% vote.
100%.
that's because it's one of the 3 greatest calls in sports history. It's that one, and I don't know what the other 2 options would be.
There were votes for All Hail Kale.
All Hail Kale
Kale was
maybe
a
deserved
pretty
this
good.
award.
Yeah, God.
I actually, I think I voted for All Hail Kale.
All
you
Hail
don't,
Kale
you don't get to copy one of our shirts and get Call of the Year.
Wait.
Well, if I could have
Actually,
gone on a shirt,
we could have
it
had
says a lot.
discussion.
Let's not worry here.
Don't worry about it.
No one do
The
the math
details
on
aren't
that.
important.
Yeah.
No
What
one
it-
do the math.
What is important is that I love Chris Marlowe. I think he's a phenomenal play-by-play guy, and I love that 1 out of every 7 or 8 games he uses like a phrase that could definitely be phrased differently.
Walks backwards into
What?
them. Because I'm pretty sure they're a big part of his life outside of professional.
Wait, hookers?
Hooker.
No, all right, I'm gonna get out of here.
So to be
Music, we
clear,
need the music.
this vote was Derek Jeter, not Mariano Rivera.
Yes.
Ah.
Not quite.
Not the unanimous.
That's the word I was looking
yeah.
for.
Oh, no.
You're being hit.
Dare you solely the sanctity.
Humanitarian.
It's not about it.
Humanitarian.
All right, no, I know, right? Luckily, I don't have to make any jokes, and I've already introduced him, so we're going to get mildly serious for a moment. Talk about people who did good things.
Yes.
And here to do that is one of the best among us, Harrison Wind. How about this guy?
Another great intro.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what
He's top- he's top.
what curve we're grading on.
He's top 15 easy.
Yeah.
This is the only award that actually matters. you know,
Actually,
in the grand scheme of things here. Nominees for Best Humanitarian: Will Barton, Ian Desmond, Dalton Reisner, and Justin Simmons. The goatee goes to Justin Simmons.
Was he here?
He's not here, but he said he would donate a generous check to the DNVR Foundation.
Right.
Let's go.
First thing I say here for the discussion. Why did he win?
Well, he's the Broncos nominee for the Walter Payton Man of the Year. He has an incredible record of attending Broncos community events. The Broncos, I will say, their community
Is there a
out.
record? Like, does anybody have a
The
losing
leader
record?
in the Broncos facility.
Right now, he's
below 500.
attending charity events.
I'll say there's someone who won an award tonight that might not have been too great at this.
We're not going to count backwards.
Yeah, we aren't. But I'll say this,
about
Justin. First of all, the Broncos Community Outreach Program, not to put down any of the other teams, is the best in the state.
It is.
And really, really great timing, Allie.
Sorry.
Goaties award show.
And Justin is pretty much everywhere when it comes to there, so he's most certainly a deserving winner of this award, and hopefully he's going to be in Denver doing his thing for a long time.
You made a great case.
All right. Wow.
All right.
Wow,
Eric,
outstanding.
we need the music.
I do want to give a shout out on that last one to Ian Desmond. I know no one wants to vote for him because of his contract and,
Aw.
his batting average, but the guy's been a nominee for the Roberto Clemente Award 3 years in a row. Like, there's no taking away what he does away from the field. So, maybe next year. There'll be another guy. Some of these guys get nominated, I'm just saying. I'm just
Anybody
throwing
need
out
a
my
beer?
vote. All right.
Yep.
I'll take one.
Beer
Who needs a
break?
Breck?
Breck Beers.
Breck.
We're going to take a moment here to talk about the new Mile High City.
Actually, yeah, we really
Drink it
should.
instead.
Have you heard of Denver Rubber Company?
You're right.
That's not what
And
you
it may
think.
not be.
Damn it. Who else needs beer? Anybody?
The next award is brought to you by what is the next award even?
Members of the Year.
Oh, okay.
Oh, this is fun.
This is going to be fun. Member of the Year. We really have to give a shout out to these people because they give us money. And so, oh, and also they're super awesome, and they make our daily lives worth living, I guess. But the money thing is also super cool. Yeah, like legitimately, without them, none of us would be here. So
That's right.
And
I hope they do.
Brendan Vought's gonna do this, I guess.
Is Andre presenting any awards? Or is he gonna make Brendan?
No, Andre and AJ just get to say
Really?
if you've got if that's the vowel ending sound to your name, you get to send off on those.
Start with an A, end with an A.
That's right.
Hey, Rudo, what's up, man?
Yeah, let's get cozy.
Yeah.
This isn't actually a winner, though, right?
Yeah, so there's no actual, we're not going to pick a winner. We're going to
There are
just...
no losers.
We're just going to list off some names that have a very special place in our heart and in our bank accounts. Thank you.
What did they do to win this award here?
They're just generally great subscribers. Thanks for putting me on the spot. Not sure if I know
What
the
was
actual
the formula for
criteria.
selecting these people?
Well,
All right, Adam.
They're amazing subscribers.
Yeah.
I would say
Minus years.
the amount of people that come to our watch parties. We see some of these members at our watch parties consistently, repping our gear, tweeting at us, interacting with us, asking us questions on our podcast. And, we know your names for a reason because you guys have left an imprint on DNVR's mark. I pretty much just did.
Anyway, the winners are... Shout out Mary Pace. Will C. We could have put his last name. Tanner Kelly. You got to shout out our boy Tanner.
He lives in Louisiana, but he owns every single shirt.
Then
You just turn to talking.
I'm being yelled at. There you go.
How dare you?
Count Locula. Can't believe I just said that out loud.
The Count. You can just call him the Count. all right?
Not to be one-upped by Nacho Brad.
Nacho Brad. Formerly known as Burrito Brad.
Steph Snoichi. Steph's a real one.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Steph.
Congratulations on the engagement.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Ryan Clayman. Ryan. Yeah, thank you. Gunnar Kane.
Yes, Gun.
Greg Smith Smitty. David East, and finally...
Oh, he went real quick with David.
Look if we've been David West.
Look, David's already in on DNVR. I've got to move him, all right? And finally, the artist formerly known as Devin. Just Devin. No last name.
Yeah, we know Devin. Real quick, I'll just... Oh, yeah, they probably could have been here.
All of those people probably would have been here.
Not enough food.
That's the live audience you're hearing in the background.
Yeah.
I just want to say, this is a small fraction of all the amazing subscribers we have.
To say the least.
If you didn't win this year, you probably win next year.
If you are a subscriber, we do consider you family. We don't get to do this without you. When we say we are Denver, we mean we, not the people in this room, all of us. All right, I'm out of here.
Amen. Amen. Hey.
Go Cards.
No, get out of here. Did you want?
We have beers.
Does anyone have that list in front of them? Because I'm going to need to talk about
Eric,
that.
what's next? Oh, the Hall of Fame.
All right, let's get that list in front. I want to talk about it. Send me the list. I also want to say, because I know what they are. I just don't want to. They were like, hey, just send me that. I'll tell you what they are.
The graphics are in social on Slack.
I've got you. I've got him.
All right, good. Adam's got it.
Explain why.
Yeah. I want to say, so this was something we wanted to do, a little bit of our own unique thing. We figured rather than recognize just individual athletes, it might be more interesting to go back and recognize individual seasons throughout the history of Colorado sports, and to begin with recognizing the absolute best of the best individual performances in an individual season that stood out from the rest. And so we actually limited ourselves to just a couple per beat. We wanted to make sure this was super exclusive to begin with. We'll continue to update it throughout the years and add individual seasons. We want to hear from everybody who you think, you got to make sure to take a look at this season or that season throughout the entire history of Colorado sports, who you think belongs in. But we wanted to set the bar with this inaugural class. So the very first class of single-season Hall of Famers for DNVR are. I walked into that vowel situation, didn't I? All right. First,
DNVR.
I guess it was a
sounded like a seal.
Are
you saying Pam or Pam?
Joe Sakic's 2000-2001 campaign.
Oh, that was great. I was alive.
Operation 16W.
All right, guys.
Very recently alive.
All right, another one that we had to look up the numbers for, but very excited about this. We'll talk about a few of them, I think. Capri Bibbs, 2013 CSU Rams running back. How about that? I mean, we'll get into it.
Ballader, huh?
Yeah, yeah. You may not think
when
so
you
at
rush
first.
for 31 touchdowns, then you'll be in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, all right.
You're down, big shifter.
We're going to have a little bit more of a conversation, it sounds like, here. We'll see which ones there's some debate about. I don't think there will be much about this one. Larry Walker, 1997. Was an MVP that year, turned his hat around in the All-Star game. You did all kinds of crazy things. All right, next on the crazy
That
stuff.
crazy kid.
By the way, that's the best honor he's had in weeks.
Peyton Manning, 2013. You may recall that he broke all the records.
I recall that.
Controversial nominee.
Yeah, really, really a tough one to decide
Eli's
on that.
brother, right?
Coming from the Giants.
I think I saw that guy on SNL once. Rashaan Salam, 1994, a classic season for the University of Colorado.
Heisman season.
R.I.P. indeed.
Heisman, baby.
And we have Von Miller, 2015. Super Bowl MVP, all the other stuff. You'd have to ask Ryan about the specific statistics, but I know he was very good.
Oh, great lead up for the last one.
Yeah, really built into that, didn't I? I think there was more like conversation to be had about Capri Bibbs than anything else. But does anybody have Bibbs' numbers?
Yes, it was like 1,631 yards.
1,700 yards,
and
31 touchdowns.
It's the fourth most single-season touchdowns in college football history.
Yeah,
Pretty crazy.
Fourth most single-season touchdowns in college football history. Sounds like worthy of belonging in our inaugural class here.
I want to start this conversation. There were no Nuggets.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Incorrect? How do you feel?
You dropped the ball in this one, huh?
Hey, I didn't see the announcement that these were due. No, it honestly really comes down to we went back and forth about how this should happen, and like this first ballot, it's almost like if you're making a Mount Rushmore of Denver sports, I don't think there would be a Denver Nugget on it, right? I mean, maybe one day we'll have Jokic or Michael Porter Jr. or Michael Malone or somebody on that list. Thomas Wells, we don't know. But if you were to make a Mount Rushmore, I don't think you'd have it. If you were to make a second Mount Rushmore, I'm also not sure. I think there'll be a lot of Nuggets that come up, next year and years to come. But I don't know that if you had to say the most important athletes in Denver sports history, I don't know that the top 5 would feature a Nugget.
So you're in agreement that Capri Bibbs is better than Nikola Jokic?
Well, if I would have known Capri Bibbs would have got in, Avra was pretty good back in 2006.
Hey, sometimes you have a year.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about the Sakic one because I know that there's going to be at least one person who's like, well, what about Forsberg's 2002-2003?
Lean in, AJ. I want to hear this.
And I get it, but Sakic's 2001, the 2000-2001 season was really, really special for the Avs. There was obviously Ray Bourque decided to come back, and then they dominated the NHL and won the Stanley Cup that year. But there was, after they lost to Dallas in Game 7 in the 2000 Western Conference Finals, there was a conversation on the team plane that took place. Sakic hadn't been very good in that postseason, and Patrick Waugh and Ray Bourque on that team plane said, they went back and they sat down with him and they basically said, look, Ray will come back for one more year, but you've got to get it together. You're the captain of this team, and everybody deserves better from you in the postseason, especially because that was, and you go back and you look, it was arguably the worst postseason Sakic ever had. Sakic said, okay, and went out the next year, scored 50 goals, had one of the greatest seasons in Avs franchise history, captained the team to the Stanley Cup. They lost Peter Forsberg in the playoffs to the spleen injury, and didn't matter. Sakic went out and scored a goal in Game 7, and was the first guy to raise the cup and gave it to Ray.
He didn't really raise it, yeah.
Yeah, he like took it and like passed it to Ray Bork. But I think that all of that comes together to make why his was the greatest Avs season. And Forsberg's 2002-2003 can get in next year.
Real quick, Rudo, before this show, you had mentioned Forsberg. Why would you have gone Forsberg over Sakic, and why?
If we're talking strictly on ice performance, yes. Forsberg was much more capable of taking over any individual game during a season. I think, in the whole, his season was better than Joe Sakic's was. But ultimately, that season was a disappointment because the Avs didn't win the Cup. He's not the captain of the team. I'm totally cool with Joe Sakic getting in over him, but I believe Peter Forsberg is one of the best 5 hockey players ever.
Wow.
Hey.
I love it.
I would agree.
I love it.
I don't disagree either. Like,
But it came down to a single season, too, right?
Right.
all right, shut this shit off. This is the best discussion.
I have some comments from the Periscope.
Yeah.
Okay.
People asking.
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
Yeah.
So we have some people on the Periscope saying not even Alex English, one of the best shooters of the 80s,
I was gonna bring
and he
up
only
English.
shot like 5 career 3-pointers. And then we also said, how did we have Capri, or someone else said, how do we have Capri Bibbs and not Terrell Davis 98?
I like that.
So
that second one much more pertinent to
The
me.
Broncos were in a little bit of a tough spot here because of some of the parameters we set up. They've got more championship seasons, more MVPs, all of that stuff, and we limited it. So as the years go on, the Broncos, I think, will dominate this Hall of Fame plenty.
Yeah, Drew Lock 2019, gotta get it.
So the limit was 2 per team,
Right.
correct?
Right.
But we're also
So you
like,
guys know.
Why didn't Forsberg get in then?
we want to represent all of Denver sports, but at the same time, if you're telling the history of Denver sports, the Broncos are just more important. Like they have had those extreme highs. They got 3 Super Bowls. So to me, as you go on, we do want to represent all the teams. We do want Alex English, a phenomenal player, a phenomenal representative of the Nuggets. But if you were to say, is Alex English in the running for being on the Mount Rushmore of Denver sports? No way. Are there 3 Denver Broncos that probably are on it? Probably.
Yeah.
And so when we're talking about this first ballot, first 7 or 8 people in, to me, it's going to be dominated by Broncos and Avs, teams that have actually won championships.
I mean, there's a very real possibility Nathan McKinnon gets in next year for this season.
For this
So-
season.
True.
And
I would say that McKinnon is probably having what will be the best Avs season ever.
And that's kind of the reason why we made this. Because I think the conversations that'll happen next year, the year after, about the seasons that we just watched are going to be really exciting and cool. So,
CU, by the way, also has a Orange Bowl. What do we call this?
the national championship.
National championship.
But what I'm saying is that the people that made it into this list are largely champions, and to me that just matters.
Walker
And
was
Capri
an
Bibbs.
MVP on the
And
last
Capri Bibbs, which is totally non-controversial.
Look, man,
It was a great season.
it's a heck of a season.
That was fun. I like that.
What yeah. So let us know who you think should be in next year's single season Hall of Fame, or any of the ones after that, for that matter. What are we doing now?
Just look at this.
I like. Here we go. What are we doing? Oh, play. Who's doing that?
That's me.
That's our king.
Brendan's like, I'll do it, Jeff.
We've seen enough of Brendan vote, and I think I've made enough of RK as much as I'm going to be able to get away with. So just welcome him back to do play of the year. Nothing. No love for the box.
Ryan!
Oh yeah, Ryan!
Yeah.
Sorry.
Wow.
We'll talk after. Which one is mine?
Oh, shoot.
The live audience thinks you're hilarious. Did you
There
hear
you
that?
are.
It could be this one, though.
Do you have the other plays?
Oh, Jesus.
dude.
Actually,
Give someone a paper cut.
Paper cuts are survivable situations.
I don't know, she said that like it was a danger to society. You're gonna give somebody a paper cut.
It could be in the eye. You never know.
Oh, God.
You're really throwing them.
Play.
Well,
What is a play? Well, a play is when a player does a thing. Best What is best?
Oh my god.
Best
Is
something that's better than the rest. Year. What is a year?
These are solid definitions.
A year is 365 days. But what makes the best play of the year? Well, the best play of the year this year.
Last year.
Almost.
I guess we need to go back to the definition of year.
Yeah, that one. These are all things we debated strongly. All these things gave us trouble.
Yeah, they really. Okay, and the nominees for play of the year: Nolan Arenado for basket catch. Nikola Jokic for buzzer beater against the Mavs. Doesn't not quite.
Those weren't words.
Hold on, can we gotta mark down a timestamp. I'm pulling that audio.
I thought I was supposed to be the drunk one.
Drew Lock and Cortland Sutton for diving one-handed catch. And Philip Grubauer for left pad save versus Flames in playoffs.
Wait, what were those last two words?
It's definitely that one.
In playoffs.
In playoffs.
Let's keep this in mind.
And the winner is, it's got to be the playoffs, right? Turns out not. Lock to Sutton.
No!
Disappointing.
This wedding is horse shit.
For people who don't remember, Locke's throw in, doesn't get his front foot in, and then Sutton grabs it like this.
It was
Nolan on the basket catch,
Dude.
he's like this and
Look.
throws it back like this.
I'm telling you.
Okay, and Barley's like,
It wasn't even Barley, but good job.
You got it aiming left on the camera.
Don't do this for us.
All right.
Andre, are you just reenacting the
I
play?
think the
Yeah,
Lock
yeah.
to Sutton play would easily have been fourth on my list.
Wow.
I
Okay,
agree.
so here's the thing. Everyone in this room is somehow mad about this.
Very mad. Big mad.
But the reason that Lock to Sutton won
our staff vote.
is because it dominated the staff vote.
I did not vote for the Lock to
I like.
Yeah,
it
you people
dominated
need
the
to answer
staff
to the
vote.
audience.
Yeah,
It won by one vote. It won by one vote over
voted Lock to
Jokic and Grubauer, so it dominated the
Judas
staff
comes
vote.
out.
I should.
It's a bunch of bullshit.
What the hell? I did it very bad. Okay. I did it bad, and I'm sorry.
All right.
I'm gonna host.
Let me make the case for Lock to Sutton. If
Play
you're looking
music.
at a play in a vacuum, which I think play of the year could potentially be viewed that way. This was this play had the highest degree of difficulty because Cortland Sutton is a 6'4", 220-pound man. He was completely extended and simultaneously, as he's hitting the ground, is able to hold onto the ball with one hand, pin it on his shoulder. So for me, when we're talking about which play had the highest degree of difficulty,
That's not what we're
that's
talking
what
about,
wins.
but okay. It wasn't highest degree.
So then what is it?
Circumstance.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Why do we play? You play
to win the game.
Broncos won that game.
Yeah, week 13. Congrats.
Actually, that was a big part of the Broncos winning the Drew Lock's first
Sometimes
game.
it just
If your
Was
case
a
is for
Jokic buzzer-beating game winner important to the outcome of that game?
It was
important,
very
wasn't it?
important. Yeah.
In fact, they were down one. Grubauer's save, is it important to the outcome of the game?
Was it? I mean, an overtime save that's brilliant, where he lifts up the left leg. He could have just left it on the ice like every other goalie does all the time, and Backlund would have scored, and the Avs would have lost that game.
All
no
I'm
big
saying
deal.
is,
but hey, they won a game in week 13 of a season in which they went 7-9.
I think we've nailed the
Soup's
right. The
important.
right person has won every award except for this one, which was almost indisputably the worst option, and somehow
No, and I'll tell you this.
But if you think Jokic should have won, you're wrong also.
Also,
I don't
no.
understand. First of all, what the award should have been.
I agree.
Right?
Now, Dre and I were looking at it earlier, and tell me if I'm wrong here. As much as no one wants to vote for the Rockies for anything right now, if Dom Nunez holds on to that ball, and that's a double play, that's a runaway.
Oh, of course, everyone knows
that's
that.
the best double play.
The
anyone's
bases
ever
are loaded
seen.
if we want to talk context of that play, too.
That was, but degree
Hang on.
of
I'm going to let you
degree of-
finish. I'm going to let you finish.
Ruder from the top.
But Grubauer had one of the best saves of all time! Of all time!
Thank you. I voted for Grubauer. I've never seen a save like that ever.
I think Nolan hurts himself because he does that stuff like every game.
Right,
So it's
like,
almost
why was
like
that good?
it was hard to even find that highlight on YouTube because he has so
Same with Jokic
nice
in
when
game
Grubauer
winners.
stopped
Does it
it.
all the time. It's not special.
Those were the days.
I don't even I'm not gonna remember that catch in a month. That one-handed catch.
Which one?
From Sutton?
The one that just won?
That might go down as the first ever touchdown pass for the greatest quarterback of all time.
Ever in the history of football.
Eli Manning retired.
What was Joe Montana's first touchdown catch?
I don't know. I wasn't
What was,
alive.
what was Tom Brady or Peyton Manning's first touchdown? I guess it sounds like first touchdown catch isn't that important.
We're talking about first touchdown pass.
It's not that memorable.
Anyways, the other people who voted for that, I'm putting some people on blast here. Mike Olson, your boy.
Mike, what the hell, dude?
Mike, come on.
First of all, I haven't heard from you in months. Send me a
yeah.
Zach Stevens.
Okay, well that's pretty
Of course.
Surprise. Drew Kreisman.
If there's a look, if there's a bad take to be had, Zach has it. So, the fact that he voted for that award, get it.
Keep it going. Keep it going.
And it just says two more. One of them was me.
The other one was me. So.
All right.
Hey.
Wait,
Also, get out.
Revote.
Dude, you got him. Because he's got an intern.
We got some Periscope comments.
Periscope.
All right, so
Collectively.
Is this your Peter Gammons moment, Drew?
Yeah, right?
okay, so we got someone who said Monte to Nixon for 94 yards, hands down. Seeing that in person was an amazing experience.
It was.
We aren't doing college sports.
Although that was nominated.
That
I will say that was nominated.
I did nominate that already.
That would have been an option, but we
Into the mic.
decided to keep. Can I speak?
Into the mic again.
No, I got yelled at to not speak on the mic.
What is this, your first Goaties?
I got yelled at.
And the award for most sassy goes to.
Okay, I'll accept it. Anyways, we just decided to choose pro sports, so that would have been it if we chose college. Groob, OT, leg, save versus Flames. It's rigged. Groob should have won. Play of the year, Jokic, just pick one. Doesn't matter. Groob just got robbed as bad as McKinnon for the 2018 Hart. Oof. Did you see Groob wink when he lifted that pad?
I didn't see the wink. I didn't know there was a wink. Can I go back and revote? Hey, can I revote?
AJ, Rudo, put them all in their
eyes
place.
closed,
Grew save to McKinnon snipe in a playoff game. That's all we got.
I'm saying that save led to the win. Like it wasn't just a save.
Look, I will never say anything to diminish that save because that save was
except for you won't vote for it. But
well, I just said,
I
already
mean,
explained
a guy made a one-handed catch in a meaningless football game once upon a time. So
it was sentimental.
We
And
got
it would have
some.
been better if they actually lost the game. So.
It was really good.
We got some
It's
Jamal.
honestly-
We got some Jamal Murray runner to steal first round series. Jamal Murray's shot over the backboard was fire too.
That's a good
But it was like first quarter. It was like the first play.
Pierce,
apparently
Silly, and
context
C.
is
Blake.
irrelevant.
It was no.
Let's just go back through every Nathan McKinnon goal because all of them were going to end up being better than that Sutton catch.
No, they aren't.
No, but for football, that was a great catch. You
I do
can't
want to
deny
say,
in football that was a great
Lavisca
catch.
Chenault made that exact same catch.
No, he
against-
didn't. He
Oh,
made it
guys, the band is playing us off the stage. We're gonna have a lot more arguments coming up. A lot more arguments.
That was a great segment.
This is
Or whatever it was. I don't
all
know.
those fancy.
Someone
award
said
shows
Sam
and-
Gerard fight, and I just want to say I agree with that.
I mean, the Sam Gerard spin and goal against the Sharks in Game 82.
that was
amazing.
We should have altercation of the year next year.
Yeah, that-
Next
yeah.
year's
Handed to me,
Goaties.
so-
should have
Sam Gerard.
He had both hands on the stick.
Actually,
so.
I guess now that we have blades, Sam Gerard ain't winning anything. But, no.
All right, to present the next award, we have the man who would like to be the king of beers and beards for DNVR, but unfortunately he's in second place on both. I'd like to welcome the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only, the only person in here who only has one name, by the way, like Madonna or Prince, Rudo!
Too bad it's not. Oh, okay.
I'm so sorry to our viewers for all that audio that just went way over.
Also, if your T-shirt comes with a beer stain, it's Rudo's fault.
You know what I'm here for. Let's be honest.
I'm presenting the moment of the year. And you know, one of the things I look forward to most
No, you have a mic.
about becoming senile. Oh, you want me to hold it closer to my face? Is telling my kids about all the moments I watch on my flat screen and not in VR surreal reality. These are those moments.
Really deep. Wow.
First up, we have German Marquez with his one-hitter against the Giants. Next up, Jamal Murray's fourth quarter against the Spurs.
Okay.
That was honestly a saver.
Next up, Drew Lock's first win against the Chargers.
Oh wow! It's gotta be a runaway.
Wait, who is that?
And finally,
Super important, guys.
Cale Makar's first goal against the Flames in the playoffs.
All right.
All hail.
All hail.
All hail.
And the winner is Cale Makar in the playoffs.
People got one right. All hail, Kale.
The first ever two-time Goatie Award winner.
Wow, that's true.
On behalf of Makar, I will accept his second Goatie of the night, and he would just like to thank his mom for mayo chicken.
I tried that. Very good.
Shout out to Guy whose Periscope account is literally Mayo Chicken, and I think that's dope.
Okay, here's my question. What defines a moment?
What? Dude, just open a dictionary.
Sounds like he has one.
How is it?
A play is singular. A moment
Is
can be
forever.
But it can be. It encompasses.
How is Jamal Murray's fourth quarter a moment?
That's why.
Oh no, it is a moment. It was a moment in time.
Oh yeah.
It was
absolutely.
When you're
Well, can we explain it?
when
So-
you're 60 years old and you have kids.
Can a whole game be a moment?
Sure, absolutely.
Yes.
The Jordan flu game?
Yeah.
That was a
that
moment.
not-
That
is
was
that
a
not a
moment.
moment?
That
That's
was
a
one of the
game.
greatest moments in NBA history.
The reason why it's a moment because somebody taking over a game is a moment.
Moment. All right. I'm not disagreeing. I'm not disagreeing.
A play
any period
is
of
like
time.
a singular
Just
shot,
whatever period of
block,
time.
whatever. But a moment can span, and that's the thing with Jamal is like I don't actually. There's a few of those shots he had in that fourth quarter that I can remember off the top of my head, but it was really just the whole thing. Because here's what people don't understand, and actually I think personally I think Jamal should have won. Here's why: the Nuggets were down 0-1 at home. They were almost down 0-2. They were down by like 20 points. They had climbed back, and he carried them to a victory to make it 1-1, and they end up winning in 7. Had he not done that, you might blow up this whole Denver Nuggets roster. The stakes of that game are as big as the stakes can be for a professional sports organization.
The reason I ask that is because I think what defines a moment is context, which is why I think that play can be in a vacuum. Anyways.
Well,
DNVR Broncos
just
podcast
to-
listeners, drink.
To compete
He's done
inside
it twice,
the Pepsi
so take
Center.
2 sligs.
Cale Makar's goal was the loudest at that time that the Pepsi Center had ever been.
Yeah.
Were you at the Taylor Swift concert?
No, no.
That was at Mile High,
that was at
not
Mile
at the
High,
Pepsi
first of all.
Center.
Probably the best moment at Mile High in 4 years.
Second of all, we don't. I'm not gonna say it was louder than when they won the cup in Game 7 in 2000.
Measured, that's fair.
I will not say that. I wasn't there.
We only
can't say that.
We only believe
But
in DNVR history.
I just wanted to say.
That's definitely fair. It wasn't measured in decibels back then.
So I was in the Pepsi Center for that moment, and that was one of the most incredible sports moments I've ever experienced, which is why I voted for Cale. When you're walking into the stadium, all anyone can talk about is Cale Makar. When you get to your seats, everyone is talking about Cale Makar. When Cale Makar is announced, everyone loses their mind. And then every time he steps on the ice, every time everyone's like has half an eye on the bench. And every time he comes over, there is a buzz. And then every time he touches the puck, the buzz gets even bigger. And then he starts driving towards the net. And it's just like the build up to it was unlike anything I've ever experienced before. And then he scores, and the place lost their collective minds. It was one of the coolest, probably my favorite Avs memory I've had in that stadium. It was incredible.
I mean, this is what makes it a moment. Is it was kind of a pretty cheap 5-0 goal. Like, it was not special.
It was super
in
cheap
that
too.
regard. But everyone in that building is going to remember it forever anyway.
Right.
Like I said on Twitter, I feel like the people in the building willed that into existence. Like everyone wanted it so badly, that it just happened.
Yeah. I love that theory.
And then
I'm
people.
actually with it.
He's just not about it. And then people were holding up actual kale.
Yeah, a full head of kale.
A full head of kale. Like, all of it was just perfect for it.
It was just so big, though. Like, this is like the beginning of something.
Yeah.
You know, like
just like Drew Lock's first touchdown.
Like Nathan McKinnon was great. Like, he's in town. He's great. But there was like it was always a feeling of like you need another guy.
Yeah.
You need another one of those guys. Cale Makar just goes walking through the door, casually rolls into a playoff game. Like, this is not a normal
It'd be like
thing.
if MPJ hit a game winner in a much needed game as his.
It would
In the
be like
playoffs.
immediately
In the playoffs.
Right,
In the playoffs, much needed.
and he had never played
And
before.
he'd never played.
Hey, how
Also, not to mention, Cale Makar was coming off playing a national championship for college.
2 days before.
2 days before.
The circumstances
and then
make
went
it
into this game and
insane.
had a goal. Like,
You're right,
all
it's
of it was incredible.
All right, we won him over.
Well, and
funny
it's like
because
the beginning of this era.
Yep.
The McKinnon, Makar, whatever's going to happen,
Multiple Stanley Cups.
that is
go,
the
baby.
beginning of it.
Yeah.
That moment, because games 1 and 2 they didn't have Cale Makar. They were 1-1, and it was like, oh, let's game 3. Cale Makar comes rolling on in, and he scores. I don't care. And he scores. The building goes bananas, and it was just like, this is it. This is what we've waited for.
AJ just Halle Berry'd that whole situation.
So,
Fourth quarter was way more expensive.
That is true.
All right, quick things from the Periscope. We've got people saying I voted for Cale because that goal was amazing. Marquez, that was amazing to see. Drew, how far into the game did he lose a perfect game?
It wasn't until the 7th inning, I think, he hit a guy who was hanging over the plate, and then the only hit of the game was a single through the right side. That's the other thing is, like, baseball's moments, like, they tend to come out of nowhere, and they don't have all that build-up and parameter, but that was probably the single greatest game ever pitched by a Colorado Rocky. Like, we talk about perfect games and no-hitters, but nobody... Get out of here!
Yeah, but Obando had 7 walks in it.
Yeah.
I mean, what about Kyle Freeland in the wild card the year before?
Oh.
So that's
Come on, man.
so context-based, yes. If you're boiling it down to the single greatest like statistical performance, like Germán Marquez never let a guy get to second base.
Dope.
All right.
Like,
Let me say, okay. And then we got someone saying, I call a revote. Murray's fourth quarter against the Spurs changed that whole series. Nuggets don't win the series without that fourth quarter.
The Nuggets season would have been over. The Nuggets season was over. The Nuggets era might have been over. Honestly, God, like, if they go down 0-2, they probably lose in 4 or 5. No, I'm serious. No, I'm dead serious about this. If the Nuggets go down 0-2, they probably lose in 4 or 5. And if you go to the playoffs as a 2 seed and lose in 4 or 5, you probably look at yourself and go, you know what? We're not doing this. We're not paying Jamal Murray. Maybe we're moving on from some of these players.
I'll allow Jamal Murray to win that one if Grubauer's pad save wins play of the year.
Honestly, God, I think both of them belong there. So it's
All right, last 2 comments where Murray was the most lucrative for the player involved. And then being there for the one hitter was neat, seeing Giants fans in awe of what was going on.
Someone who lives out in California watching the show, or just happened to be there.
If
Made that
Marquez
trip.
doesn't give up the hit, this would probably be a different conversation.
If it's a perfect game,
all
him.
I wonder if Murray's
All him.
first 3 quarters aren't so bad. Does he win it?
Right, because he probably goes for 50.
Right.
Right.
All right.
All right. Who's doing athlete now? We've met. Okay. Hank already got to do an award, but I guess he gets to do another one.
He's done 2 already.
No, I've
What?
done one.
Oh, yeah.
It feels like a lot.
It just
felt
feels
like a long one.
it feels like there's been a lot of Hank, even though he said like 12 sentences total
There's been
tonight.
so much rock is giggling from this side of the room.
That's right.
Shout out to the live viewers who are sticking with us and having a blast
Seriously.
and commenting. Keep commenting.
Thank you.
This is so much fun.
Drink Mile High City.
To present the award for Athlete of the Year, please welcome the least athletic person in the room.
That is a good fact.
That is so not true.
That can't be right at all.
Great golfer.
So
that
nimble.
Hank.
You wouldn't even believe it.
Hank can swing a golf club. That is a fact.
We have videos where we see.
If the first word you think of is nimble,
It's true. I
don't
am.
know.
That's what makes me different.
L, admittedly.
He's still fitting in those
Those
pants.
poor
which I think
pants.
is maybe the greatest athletic
I
achievement.
feel like the pants are pretty happy. In
Those
terms of the
poor pants.
In terms of the places these $17 pants could have ended up, this is a
I'm
good
shocked at the seam work on those $17 pants.
I buy good stuff.
I'm telling you.
All right.
All right. We have a entry for our Hall of Fame
Is
season.
dressing
Okay.
a sport?
Golf and frisbee.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, my bad.
Your nominees for Athlete of the Year.
Athlete of the Year's a big one. So
Yes.
Here we go.
It means we're
Take this
getting
serious.
close
Really,
to
really build it
What
up.
is an athlete?
Define
You
athleticism.
have like a call friend. You have like a dictionary in that pocket.
Which year?
Not this year.
Someone
Last
wrote
year.
on the Periscope that they love us, so I just want to say shout out to you.
We love you too.
You better, otherwise why the hell are you watching this?
I know. Oh, he's holding a mic too.
Thank you.
Well, it's actually Bruno's.
It is. I had to
Oh,
pass
keep
it
that.
off. Yes.
We got
Lost my spot. Okay. Your nominees
That's the way to start it.
for Athlete of the Year, which we've defined. First, Nolan Arenado from the Rockies. Second,
He's an athlete.
Nikola Jokic from the Nuggets.
Oh, athlete.
Third,
Capri Bibbs.
Nathan McKinnon from the Avalanche.
Yeah.
And fourth, and he totally fits in, Drew Lock from the Broncos.
Wow.
This feels like a shoehorn job.
How many games did Drew Lock play in 2019?
4.
You know the
Five.
You know the
He went 4-1.
And the winner is Nikola Jokic.
Let's go, Harrison.
The right man won.
What do you know? The right man
I'm
won.
not saying I disagree, but like if you look at them off the field, he looks the least
Well,
like
yes.
an athlete.
Is that what we're doing?
Precisely why he should get this award.
So here's
Can we
an-
start a new
What?
award?
Here's,
It
I
was,
want
like,
to
this
throw
was-
out.
This came down to less than 1%.
This was about as close as it's
Yeah,
gonna get.
yeah.
That is so cool.
So,
What was the
Nathan and
Yeah, it was Nathan and Nicola.
between those two, and it's really interesting because these three athletes were also in our top 50, right? And
Which one was it?
no. Well, they were our 3, 4, 5. They were grouped right there.
Would you say they were
together.
all locks?
They were all
Jesus.
locks. We'll see where Drew ends up on the next top 50 list. I think it's interesting because Nolan, and I think we largely agreed, has had the best career of those guys so far. He's also been at it a little bit longer, and he came in higher than those guys. Also, statistically speaking, I know the team didn't do well. This last year was the best season of Nolan Arenado's career.
July.
People forget.
People forget, but at the same time, I think that just speaks to the years that Nikola Jokic and Nathan McKinnon just had. Like, holy cow.
from what I'm seeing in the comments in the Periscope, we also want to clarify this is 2019
Right.
The
season.
whole
Calendar year.
calendar
year.
year, not this season in 2019.
Right.
Although we did elect to kind of ignore the beginning of Nikola Jokic's 2020 season.
2019.
Or 20.
I didn't.
Yeah,
I factored
yeah.
it
I
in.
did.
I didn't ignore it. I just Nikola Jokic had literally a historic playoff run last year that I think.
Also,
That's what wins
rare
him. That's what wins this for him.
separated.
Also,
Yeah.
his really terrible November featured 2 buzzer beater game winners and a 16-point fourth quarter. I mean, that was a really bad month for him. Really bad.
And the best start in franchise history.
Yeah.
So you
So,
like
so it's not like
Oh,
he was
the team
holding
was-
people
oh,
back.
right. Yeah.
So is he being graded on a curve because he arguably had the best season of any Nugget?
I don't think
But
He had the best
Nathan,
postseason of any Nugget.
Was he
Oh,
was he a
man,
front
he had the
runner
best
for
postseason
MVP
than
like
you.
McKinnon?
What
Was
are the
he
chances,
Also, I want to
First of all, he was in the running for. He was fourth in
He
MVP
finished
voting,
fourth in MVP voting.
and honestly, he should have been third. And the guys that were ahead of him, the NBA is a little different in how they do MVP. Like the NBA of all of them is like the Russell Westbrook award. It's which guy had the Sisyphusian award of like taking too many shots, grabbing too many.
Right there, your
Sisyphus
dictionary,
was the
Ryan.
guy who put the
Who
rock up the hill.
Who is the guy who unnecessarily did too many things for his team to win the award? Is what I'm saying, and Jokic never does that.
Quick note too. This is your voting, the people's voting, and our voting. I'm just seeing people just being a little confused on it. We put it on Twitter. The fans voted. You guys voted. we used your votes and then also our company's votes. So it was a collective group.
And they were 1-1. The only thing that broke the tie was collective percentage. So if one person got 58% of our votes and 60% of the fan votes, we added those together versus the other one.
Yeah, just so we clarify what's
And I
going
think
on
there
with
were
voting.
only a couple that our staff swung, right? For the most part, I think we were pretty close to the
Play of the
audience
year,
vote. Play of the year, which we of
Player
course
of
gave
the,
to the wrong
Play of
person.
the year,
Yep.
Player of the Year, and Team of the Year.
The
Avs,
Avs, I think the Avs nearly swept votes, though.
Yeah.
There were a lot of
The Avs fans are so good at voting on polls.
The Avs fans are just so good at voting.
Let's take this in an interesting direction, though, because I do think that if Arenado was to stay, Drew Locke's going to be around, I hope, for a long time. McKinnon and Jokic obviously going to be around. Like, who do you think going forward is going to win the most of these awards, especially if we just look at the next 4 or 5 years?
And before you say Drew Lock, don't. But it might be man.
You know what? I think it just leads to the fact that it's going to be really great, hopefully great year for Denver sports next year with all of these young rising stars coming in, and that we can only, we already know Jokic and Nolan, Cale Makar, Jamal Murray, hopefully, Drew Lock,
Trevor
Story, Nolan Arenado.
Who probably should have been the nominee for the Breakfast.
There's so many stars, like rising stars that are coming up, and I think it's going to be really, really exciting.
I want the same billboard Boston had last year, where the Nuggets win it all, and then there's a billboard in Denver that's saying, it's been 12 days since our last championship. And then the Avs go and do it as well.
Yeah.
Be so dope.
I love that.
Let's do that.
There's going to be some good nominees.
If the Nuggets and Avs win a title, but they're not on TV for anyone to see.
Oh, do they have to? Does it count? Does it only count? It's very Immanuel Kant of you. We got Sisyphus and Immanuel Kant on the awards show tonight. So.
Dude, we love philosophy.
Sisyphus.
Oh, that's right. Oh, it doesn't count if it's the three of us. That doesn't count. All right. I think we have 2 more awards. One more award. The final award.
The big hitter.
The head honcho.
We did our actor of the year. This is the
Rudo's
film
gone
of
for
the
the
year.
big finale, though.
The big cheese. He'll be back in time. We've already gone way over, and we'll continue to talk.
Trudeau has the world's smallest bladder.
I thought you were going somewhere else with that. So.
Me too, buddy.
And
I tensed up. I really did.
I would never have done that.
Oh my God.
Plus, we all know that came.
that comment was brought to you by Mile High City Copper Lager from Breckenridge Brew. And
go to our shirt drop watch party tomorrow.
yeah,
There's a comment on the Periscope. It's Breck Brew that says, "Please do not associate us with this stupid award show."
just please go to the Nuggets watch party, but whatever you do, don't associate us with whatever the Goaties are. To present the final Goatee of the evening, I figured we'd turn to the man who's most likely to be confused for a professional athlete of anybody in the room.
Look at that
And what was it? I mean, that's not necessarily a good thing. But also, not all. Yeah.
Or
Just,
a goat.
Most
likely to be
he has to be leery of all low-flying aircraft. He is as familiar with the Denver Nuggets as he is anything that hangs from the ceiling.
Because he's tall.
Right. No, you got it. Right.
He's a punk.
Come on, Rudo.
Other tall jokes. I'm going to need a 1 out of 10 on each of these. And also, the man who I said several weeks ago to, you know what would be funny? If we did some stupid award show, just sitting at a Bojo's thinking I was making funny jokes.
We were actually, but honey crust,
legitimately.
honey cheese bread.
Probably DNVR, you get a free honey cheese bread.
And where really interesting or bad or good ideas, we'll let you decide, are birthed. But we did. We were sitting at a Bojo's one day. I turned to Adam. I said, you know, it'd be funny. And if I'd have left it there, like, it probably would have stayed there. But this guy was like, let's actually make that a real thing. And now we're all sitting in a room looking ridiculous, handing out fake awards to people who couldn't care less. And so, it's a real award. One very real award.
And Cale Makar won it twice. So
We're going to have to split it in half and then give both halves to Cale Makar. But to present the award for Team of the Year, welcome Adam Mares. Thank you.
I do not want the other half.
I just let it go, man.
I remember that conversation much differently. I talked him out of it for 2 straight hours. He insisted. And
he was certainly wrong about it being funny.
Here we are.
But we nailed stupid awards, so I think that was spot on. Well executed.
You can't say it's not been funny, man, because Courtland Sutton.
All right, let's move on.
That's the biggest joke of the year.
Let's move on.
Biggest joke of the
Hey.
year. Next award.
That would be a good one.
Someone's asking if this turned into a roast.
We've talked about the best dressed. We've talked about the best athlete. We've talked about a lot of best individual awards. But have we talked about the best team?
Nope, that's why you're doing it.
Oh, yeah, we saved it for last.
Like saving the best presenter for last, we saved the best award for last. And that's the best team. Your nominees: the Denver Nuggets, who made it to the second round of the NBA playoffs, Game 7. The Colorado Avalanche, who made it to Game 7 of the second round of the NHL playoffs.
Don't know the hockey song about my favorite sport.
The Denver Broncos.
They got good.
The Colorado Rockies.
They had a
Las
season.
cucarachas.
Hey! And the winner is.
Oh no.
It's the Broncos.
The Colorado Avalanche! Here to accept the award is AJ and Rudo, who voted in 1,000 different burner accounts to make it happen.
Didn't need them, baby. Everyone knew the Avs were the best team.
So this was a 2-horse race.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well,
The Avs and Nuggets
there's
made it
3
to the-
horses because the Avs and then the Broncos are a horse.
Yeah, but one of those wasn't in the Pepsi Center, so it doesn't
Not a
count.
great joke, but he's right.
He is right. I hate that I have to concede this one, but you are right. It was a 3-horse race. 2 of the horses mattered.
Like I'm in the way.
No,
Okay.
this was a 2-horse race, and it was both teams went to the exact same moment. They went exactly as far. They both featured young players. Why did the Avs win?
Because you guys choked it at home.
Oh, that's
And the Avs were cheated out of Game 7. I'd just like to say.
You guys choked it at home, and the Avs got screwed by an offside review.
Oh, that for real happened.
That's very true.
Yes, I know.
I know what that means
lived
now.
that.
Yeah.
Here's another thing that I think is the Avs overachieved, whereas the Nuggets may have underachieved.
I don't think the Nuggets underachieved.
Hold on. We're talking about an 8 seed that made it to the the Game 7 of the second round.
That happens in hockey playoffs all the time.
Versus a 2 seed.
No, it doesn't.
A 2 seed is expected to make it.
8 seed never makes it past
On
the
paper,
first
a
round
2 seed is expected to make it to the Western
Gotta
Conference
get to
Finals.
WCF, man.
Yeah, but the Nuggets being a 2 seed was overperforming.
Also, the
That's
Nuggets
true.
the Nuggets played the world's greatest game of chess over the last week of the season to become the 2 seed and not the 4 seed. Like, it was the only
but
reason
the Avs did that to get into the playoffs in the first place.
I'm just saying that the Nuggets, to me,
They
when
just won.
everybody who was in the know, including ourselves, when we were trying to say how far the Nuggets going to go, it's like, second round. Well, hopefully they make it there. Hopefully they're competitive. So it wasn't, I think from the outside, people would look at it and say the 2 seed. But it really came down to the fact that they beat a completely disinterested Minnesota team is the only reason they weren't the 4 seed. And they beat them in the last game of the season to get there. So to me, they weren't a real 2 seed. They weren't a favorite in that series. They just happened to
I think
be
the
there.
Nuggets were a rightful 2 seed, but I think a big reason they lost in the playoffs is because it was their first time in the playoffs, and they can attribute a lot to that. And the NBA playoffs is so different than the NBA regular season.
Yeah.
I think I agree though with the fact the home games. I was
Yeah,
at
that-
both.
that's a good point.
I was at both of those home games. I was at the Avs Game 6 where they won, and I was at the Nuggets Game 7 when they lost. And especially that Game 7 for the Nuggets where there was so much excitement in that first half because they were doing so well. And then
Just kept
watching
bricking.
them just deflate in that second half I saw so many fans just sit there like heartbroken. So I feel like that has a lot to
The
do
Nuggets were the better team that
with
series, but they
it.
didn't win.
With it, while like Avs fans left the Pepsi Center feeling great, while like Nuggets fans left being like, oh my god, how did that happen?
Honestly, go ahead.
I would just push back by saying the Avs have won before, and the Avs as a team have had success. In my time in Denver, my short time, from when I got here till the end of last season, the cultural footprint of the Nuggets tripled from that season. People were talking about the team they hadn't in years. People were wearing merch they hadn't in years. So, like, the Avs this city knows what it's like when the Avs are good, but I would say that the Nuggets recaptured the city that last season.
Also, really,
That's
we're coming
something-
down to is the fact that the Avs weren't as good in January and December. Like, that's really all we're talking about here. I mean, the Nuggets happen to be...
December doesn't count. 2018.
Great point. Got him.
Yes. We're back to defining years.
Pedantically, technically
No, but I'm
correct.
being
I
dead serious
love
about this. The Nuggets, a bunch of players got injured in that season in December and January. We'll count the January portion. And the Nuggets went on this incredible run behind Murray and Jokic. It was great. It was inspiring. Had they not done that, they would have been the 5 seed or the 6 seed in the exact same boat. Maybe they would have lost in the first round. So it is a little weird that they overachieved early on in the year to then be considered failures.
It's
in the
true.
playoffs.
I mean, Nuggets clearly the better regular season team. The Avs, if we're splitting hair, the better.
Well,
postseason.
the same postseason team though. The same postseason team.
The difference
No,
for
they
me.
had,
But they beat the 1 seed.
the Avs had to go through other
I-
barns to do it.
Yeah, I think the Avs were
And
better
I
in
also
the
think
postseason,
that, I mean, I also think that Cale Makar
Exactly.
had a big part.
The new era that
of
AJ talked about.
exactly,
earlier.
like
You know what?
having
You
if
know-
MPJ would have started
I was
in
gonna
the
say, do you know what the
postseason-
Nuggets should have done?
Put in MPJ.
If MPJ would have stared in the postseason, I think this would have been such a even
have to split
closer.
the award.
No, because
Yeah.
there's no way the Nuggets would have won if.
They would have lost in 4 games.
One
to
thing
San
should-
Antonio. Everybody would be like, what was Malone thinking?
But
Wait,
seeing
hold
the-
on. 3 for 20 from 3 in that game 7? MPJ probably hits at least 2 more. They win.
Yeah,
That's
if
a
he
great
could
point.
be on 1 foot for that.
I love this idea of the Nuggets putting in MPJ for his first NBA game in Game 7.
Yes!
Second round. It's just like, you know,
I just think that Cale Makar, like Denver, Colorado, seeing this new emergence in a playoffs of this rising star of this literal child makes it just even
For the
better.
record, I think it's the Avs too. I'm just trying to.
No, I think it was
and
a
AJ,
really
it was really close.
AJ kind of said it under his breath, but he did say they beat the 1 seed 4-1 in that series.
Yeah.
That pushes.
So
them
we
to
got.
play.
I always liked that. Though.
And you-
NBA's never liked that.
And you know what's crazy?
Never
You
liked
guys,
that.
you guys have both said this, and it's not true.
I mean, the Nuggets
mean,
have
it
won a
does-
series
it
that
does
series.
happen.
That's
It
not-
It happens
It's
more
more
in that sport than it does.
Yeah, like
any others.
I mean,
Tell
I do
Dikembe
have
it
some
never
things.
happens.
Nuggets only upset George Karl at 8-1.
All right, so some Periscope comments that we've got. We got Allie, make this a fan event next year. Stay tuned. We probably will make this a fan event because this is just a lot of fun and we would love to have our family a part of it.
DNVR is the seed of an oak tree. And right now the seed
I'm going home.
is the seed of an oak tree, or is it an acorn?
And one branch is the Blake
I don't know,
Street
dude.
Tavern.
It's a metaphor, yeah.
I'm just saying, this is a little seed, you know, like in Mario, and then there's like in Mario 2. The little corner.
Well, we have
Pick it
the.
up and it turns into a secret
We
door.
have these ideas. They'll keep growing, and we would love to have this next
You
year
know what I meant, right?
with all the fans.
If not for Allie, all of us would literally be wandering in traffic, giving sports analysis, like really phenomenal sports analysis, just to people walking by on the street.
And so, okay, so then we had Avs. Avs wins hands down. They got their QB. Go Avs. Best dressed Mel
Avs
Tucker.
got their QB. Of the
Best.
power play.
Not wrong. Best dressed Mel Tucker.
Oh,
I went KD anyway.
Snub of the
Once he
night.
started losing,
The shorts are the most overrated.
Oh,
Amen.
Then
Great, you guys
Yes.
beat Nebraska and CSU.
all right.
That's all
There
we
was more
ever
than
need
that.
to do.
What's your college team?
Great program.
Anyways.
My favorite is when I'm thinking
Anyways.
How did Ithaca College do?
They won.
Allie has the
hey,
floor.
that's
Well, she's
okay.
trying
Duke
to have
this
it.
year.
Is that what you win?
I'm trying to give the people the floor.
Give the people what they want.
Then we got someone who said Moose, and then someone else said Nuggets were robbed for Team of the Year. Avs win easy, and the Nuggets get credit for finishing in second place with all the injuries they had. Preach, AJ.
Injuries.
It's great seeing the growth of Drew as a hockey fan.
The Avs don't get credit
I
for
thought we were just
making
talking
the
about
playoffs in Orlando Scott.
Need a worst call of the year award. Game 7 offsides would be the Avs nominee. Whoa, the Avs did not overachieve.
Bradley Chubb, roughing the passer.
Oh,
that was a good one.
We should do call of the year.
Yeah.
Where's the other kind?
Nugs were the 2 seed. Avs were the 8th seed. Love them both equally, but the Nuggets are better. Game 7 offsides would win worst call of the year. The Avs spanking the number 1 seed in every aspect is why they're the best. Avs knocking the top seed in 5 games. And the award for best damn sports media network on the planet.
I hope it's not
USA. Well,
Today.
Colorado for sure.
Barstool Sports.
DNVR. Thank you. We love you guys.
We got a goatee.
We love you guys so much.
This is to us.
Does that mean we just keep
This is for us.
And in all seriousness,
And we are here to receive the award.
because we had nothing else.
We'd like to
going on.
thank you and also us.
We hope you enjoy the dumb stuff that we try at this company from time to time, including this, which all of us collectively had no idea what it would look like until it just happened.
Yep.
And now we know. But we do appreciate you sticking with us, and we hope this becomes an annual tradition that grows. Like I said, this is the seed. Remember when I said that? It was the seed of the metaphor. It will grow into something maybe bigger.
Grow into a golden goat.
And Adam, if I can just say, and Buffs fans, we know you want to make your input heard, so send your angry DMs to Henry.
Not so hard. Anybody else?
I don't want to hear it.
Literally anybody else.
Blame CSU.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.